Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall are your new champions. UFC 295 was madness. Madison Square Garden delivered per usual. Every year we do it. Every year we're surprised about the titles that change hands, the implications that change. Folks, welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G, and today we are going to be talking about the aftermath, the two simultaneous champions we have in the UK for the first time ever in the UFC. Alex Pereira, who only took 7 UFC fights to become a 2-division champion. We have history being made, and breaking it down with me, as always, is my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. Brother, you gotta win on the week. We got some titles that changed, but most importantly, you picked it. Alex Pereira and Tom Aspinall and new champions. How you feeling, brother?
Man, Derick, MSG, 5 knockouts for the main card, brother. Wild throughout the entire rest of the card as well. Not much more you can ask for, except over here, folks. You're getting that dub on this side. But either way, you're looking at it. You're making money consistently. I had a great weekend, man. These fights were awesome. Derick, how'd you like the weekend?
Listen, man, I've been saying for a long time, Tom Aspinall will be a champion. Now, technically, he was an interim champion. So I will be real. It doesn't count quite yet. You got to get the win over John Jones. Then we can really say, all right, we called it. But for the time being, man, I'm feeling good. There was history being made, and I just want to talk about the breakdown of this card. So let's just jump straight into it, AJ. Let's not mince any words. But first, let's take a look down below at that scoreboard. AJ, you are pulling away a little bit. 6-fight lead right now. This is probably one of the largest leads that you've had all year. I think the largest we got to was about 10 or something like that. Now we have 4 events left to go. We're fighting for some pretty gold belts right there behind me, and I have not conceded. I'm still looking to pick up the victory, but check in with the people at home, man. How are we feeling about the head-to-head competition closing up here pretty soon?
Man, folks, I've said it week in and week out. I still feel like this fight is way too close to get comfortable. You heard Derick. He's hungry. He still has not conceded yet because he's come back from some hell of a deficit before. And I feel like this year, it may be my year, but I'm not putting all those eggs in a bucket yet, folks, because we still have 4 events left to win you some money. And the most important thing, to kind of draw on that lead a little bit, I still think it's 0-0 in my head. And I hope that's a mentality that you folks think going into every one of your aspects, because you still got to put in the work. And all that means for you is we're putting money in your pockets, folks. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. See how it ends. I got a spot right over here for that gold shiny belt. You'll see where it's coming next. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, now with that being said, let's jump straight into that recap of the weekend. So we're taking a look over here. You gotta love a lot of gold there on the right side of the screen. Soul Miss was one of our Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks, Mackenzie Dern, which we're gonna talk about in 1 second. But AJ, I do have to say, there was one part that's missing for you that we still have not hit on, and that's the props, baby. But it's okay, because I got you covered in that department, my man. Lupi Godinez, points plus 115. We hit for a second week in a row. Fell short on the Marco Madsen prop pick, but, I mean, you made up for it on the money line, man, so you can't be too mad. You can't have it all, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too, except here on this program. We'll give it to you, you know what I'm saying? But just kind of a recap, man, of the overall picks that we made. Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. We were 2-1. That miss was Mackenzie Dern. We're going to talk about it in length, in detail in just one moment. But if you had to sum it up in a sentence, man, what is the revisionist history on that pick?
Ooh, on that pick, Derick, I think the striking, as much as we were showing that she has improved, and even Mackenzie Dern showed she improved a little bit, when you're worried about what the other person's going to be throwing back at you, you're starting to look for it, you're starting to see where it's coming, you leave that chin up and a little high, you end up getting tapped. That's what happens, man. It was one of those where when I saw the techniques going down, I thought, oh, man, we're in some trouble right here. Joe Rogan called it out from literally the first punch. What'd you think?
Yeah, I don't want to draw too much into this, but the Jason Perillo, Ruka Jim closing and him not being her corner, you don't want to say that's the reason. Jessica Andrade's a completely different opponent than some of the other people Mackenzie Dern has defeated recently. But I'll just say this. Mackenzie Dern looked like Jessica Andrade when Andrade got knocked out by Yan Xiaonan. That's what she looked like. And we'll talk about it in a moment. But we did hit on the others, Benoit Saint-Denis and Tom Aspinall. So we got you covered. We got you locked. It's the Bloody Water Podcast. Now, AJ, you already said it. Let the people know they need to subscribe. This is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. Folks, the goal is 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It is like mid-November at this point that we're recording this, so we got a little bit of time left. Help us, help you, subscribe. Let's talk about some fights. Let's get it.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ. All right, AJ. Alex Pereira, how does he do it, man? How does this dude, stemming from a call out back in 2020, Israel Adesanya pretty much saying, this bum in a bar, he'll never be anything. He'll just be talking about my past accomplishments and my future accomplishments, even though, yeah, he beat me in kickboxing or whatever. He says, okay, I'm motivated. I'm coming back to MMA. He takes 7 fights in the UFC to become a 2-division champion, has literally etched himself in stone. I imagine now that he's been crowned a Hall of Famer in glory, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer in the UFC. There's not many double champs that aren't. What a story. What a night. What is your thought on this whole entire amalgamation that is Alex Poatan Pereira?
Man, Derick, it's hard to put into words because, like you said, 7 fights in the UFC, but 11 fights in MMA and a double champion, man. That right there, those are statistics that I don't know if they've been matched anywhere else. I mean, you're going to have to get the analytics on that because there is a wild percentage of people that would love to see or love to be Alex Pereira, but have anywhere near the realm of it being able to grasp that, man. And they're also Hall of Famers too, which is crazy, the fact that Alex Pereira is able to do what he did in a short period of time. But what blows my mind even more, Derick, or what the implication to this means to me, we might see Izzy start chirping up a little bit, start getting a little bit big, and finally make that return, but no longer to his 185-pound class. He might make it to a 205, and then we see the UFC matchmakers of the UFC hype train, if you will, really start to get working. Do you think that's at all in any consequence to what's happening right here, Derick, or is Izzy done at 205?
I think that's something that we should probably touch on at the end of this segment in terms of the call out, right? Because Pereira calls out Adesanya, says, come to daddy. I want you here at 205, man. We need that rematch. I got a little bit of a take on that, so I'm going to save that one towards the end. But for the time being, let's talk about Alex Pereira and how this man, as a pretty much a pure kickboxer who is just using a little bit of takedown defense, getting back up to his feet, he's causing a lot of problems, and he did that for Jiri Prochazka. I want to start with the leg kicks, man. This is the game plan of Poatan. He starts it, no hip turn, but just a couple smacks to the leg. Take out your mobility, take out your lead foot, and then kind of put you at a disadvantage in a pure striking contest. However, it worked. I mean, until it didn't, man. He got taken down, AJ. He got taken down. He got back up, and he finished the fight in a Johnny Walker-esque fashion, right? Someone shoots in, you drop elbows down on the head, a little bit of ground and pound, and people talk about an early stoppage. I kind of want to touch on that, but just for a moment, man. Just pure technique, pure skill set for Alex Pereira. I mean, is this the top of the food chain? He did it to Jiri Prochazka, the most unorthodox samurai style type fighter that you could have. I just think the fight was a little closer on the feet than people would imagine. What do you think?
Oh, very much closer on the feet, Derick. And yeah, and the leg kicks that Pereira was presenting, man, he's a true form of you just need precision and not necessarily power. Like you said, he wasn't turning the hip over. He wasn't really swinging on it and dipping in and really driving that leg in. He was just kicking the right spot to really shut down Prochazka's legs. And that's what Alex has been doing for such a long time, just tapping you, but it's in such a nice spot that it's still doing a ton of damage. And you're right, Derick, the fight was a lot closer on the feet, because don't forget, folks, for about 20 seconds before that big knockout and all that stuff happened, Pereira was hurt. He got clipped a couple times. He's circling back to the fence. Things were going wrong for him. But again, all you need is one. We were talking about that Poatan power. Derick asked if I still think he has it in the 205 class. Sure enough, man, we saw it right there. Yeah, it may have been, in some eyes, a little bit shorter of a stoppage, but you can't deny that power when all it takes is a one left hook and homeboy goes down to the ground. After that, chaos unfolds. But what do you think, Derick? Was that power real, or was that just one of those, another precision moment where Pereira connected perfectly?
I think it was more of a precision moment, honestly. The thing that I'm learning from Pereira is, though, he is scary as a kickboxer because he's going to time you, he's going to set you up, he's going to put you in traps. He seems kind of like another light heavyweight in terms of power, pure power. There's nothing that's standing out where it's like, oh my God, when this dude hits you, it's game over. Jiri rushed in like he does, like a madman, got clipped. Like it was kind of like the Mackenzie Dern, Jessica Andrade that we'll talk about. You come sprinting in, throwing crazy shots, chins up in the air. We knew that coming in about Jiri Prochazka, and the inevitable kind of came to fruition. So when it comes down to, these other big monster light heavyweights, Johnny Walker's, Alexander Rakic, now that he's back, those big guys, it just makes me wonder, man. He's going to have to bring the full package, Alex Pereira, to defend that championship. But more, kind of on this fight right here, do you think that Pereira did a great job in dictating, making the fight his fight? Because it did feel like he was on the back foot for a majority of the fight. It felt like Jiri was kind of dictating how this fight was taking place. The only thing that he couldn't do, and I don't know if it was because of a lack of mobility or just good hips by Pereira, he couldn't get the fight to the ground as much as he wanted to. Once he started feeling that power, though, the leg kicks and all that, I think he was like, okay, now we're going to have to wrestle, bro. So what do you think?
Yeah, no, totally. Especially in that first round, I was expecting not more out of the Prochazka corner, but more of keeping Pereira flat on his back. Because we were seeing Pereira start working, man, start trying to get sweeps, trying to advance his position. Sure enough, with like 30 seconds left in the round, he's able to escape. He's able to get back to his feet and push off and get to where he feels comfortable again. I think that was a huge motivation win for Pereira corner, and also a little bit of a sap out of the Prochazka corner, just because you expect, if Izzy's able to hold Pereira down for a long time, you expect anybody is too. And then sure enough, man, Pereira's looking good, working well. And that Glover, the Glover training camp, man, Coach Glover must be doing exactly right, because Pereira looked better than I expected to him, at least in better form on the ground in the defense. And not saying, Jiri is the end-all, be-all ground specialist, because, yeah, as good as he is on the ground, there's still some improvements that need to be had. But Pereira looked good. What do you think, Derick? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much did Pereira's ground skill rise?
I don't think that he showcased really anything on the ground other than takedown defense, which is really good. That's what you want, right? You at least want to get to the ground and make it difficult for your opponent to choke you or put you in a bad spot, grab your arm, tear your shoulder, something like that. Did a great job getting back to his feet. The thing that worries me, man, is the guy that I'm saying who's going to be a champion in the light heavyweight division, Magomed Ankalaev. I think that he eats this dude up all day long if he can just get to his hips. Now, that's a big if. That's the thing here. That window, that entry fee to get to the hips is a massive price. And we're seeing that for everybody at this point. So if he can get it and if he can keep him down, I just think that that's the part that Alex Pereira needs to work on, is the ability to not get there in the first place. But listen, man, how much can he ask for? Again, 7 fights in the UFC. This man is a 2-division champion. I'm curious, though, 36 years old, man. It seems like this journey was almost out of spite, as we had mentioned in the beginning of the show. Out of spite because Adesanya calls him out, calls him a bum in a bar, or whatever the case may be. Does he run this division, AJ? Like, what is the future prediction for Alex Pereira? What does the outcome look like? He did his work at 185. You're at 205. You probably shouldn't be calling out Adesanya, which is the last part that I want to touch base on. But what does he do moving forward in this division?
That's a good question, Derick, because longevity-wise, I'm thinking 3 years, 5 years at max. I don't expect Pereira to really sit here and bask in the glory of being the UFC champ. I feel like he has all the glory he needs, or it has claimed in his life. So I'm thinking a couple fights, maybe like you said, call out Izzy, get that fight, beat him again, right off into the sunset. But if that's the case, if Izzy's able to get one or things go on, that's why I'm saying like 3 years is what I expect the longevity of Pereira's career to be. What about you, Derick? You think he's going to maintain for a while, or we're going to see transitions be happening, that belt be changing hands?
I think the belt will probably be changing hands, personally. The thing is, Poatan, he's like 36 years old, you know what I mean? So the shelf life on these guys, yeah, you probably got to get another 3, 4, 5 years. I'm not saying as a champion, but just kind of like at the top of that game that you have right there. But more importantly, the thing that worried me is the call out. So you call out Israel Adesanya after winning the 205-pound belt. Adesanya got manhandled by the guy that you just beat, Jan Blachowicz, for the belt. What are we doing here? It's just like, that's what I'm saying. It's like going back to that one. Do I think that Israel Adesanya will come up to 205 and that's the fight to make? I don't think that makes sense. I think there's a lot of hungry, really challenging fights for him at 205. And then that's the part where Josh Barnett chimes in on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this, but he says, well, Alex Pereira has mainly fought kickboxers throughout his entire span in the UFC. So how about we see an actual MMA fight, and then we see a couple more of those? So I think that's what people are going to start demanding of him. If you really want to seal Alex Pereira in that Mount Rushmore of the best fighters that the company has to offer, I think you have to start fighting those guys. What do you think legacy-wise?
Legacy-wise, you absolutely have to. Like you said, nonetheless, the dark horse Magomed Ankalaev, but Rakic, a bunch of the other fighters are up there. Man, even the champ
Jamal Hill.
the belt. Yeah, Jamal Hill. Thank you, Jamal Hill. Even then, not the best, ground game specialist, but we at least got to give these other boys the chance in there to really make amends and not just go with the storyline that I'm sure the UFC is going to promote. They love the money, they love Izzy, so I'm sure it's going to be promoted there. But I do think in order for legacy-wise, for glory-wise, you need to be fighting these other guys that have been working their way up consistently through those rankings. Sure, you got the chance to jump them, but you also got to reach a hand down below and also try to pull them up to the boys,
Absolutely. This was a fantastic win by Alex Pereira, and now it's just sky's the limit at this point. I'm curious to see where the motivations come because he has yet to defend either of his belts so far, right? So you won the middleweight championship, didn't defend it. Now you got the light heavyweight championship, you got to defend it. And new Alex Pereira. Beautiful. All right. AJ, I'm taking the victory lap right here, man. I know I said earlier he's got to win the real championship, but Tom Aspinall, man, we've been saying it. He's the hybrid. Now, context, folks. Once upon a time, Tom Aspinall, he had entered the UFC kind of around a similar time that the Dawkins brothers, Chris Dawkins and Kyle Dawkins, did. And me and AJ, we kind of had this back and forth of, man, we really like these new hybrid heavyweights they have. Who do you think is going to be these champs, right? I went the Aspinall route. You went the Dawkins route, which was not a bad route. You know what I mean? The promise was there. But this dude, Tom Aspinall, bro, he is a cheat code. The only heavyweight that we have currently, aside from a Cyril Gane, that moves like a pure middleweight. It's the speed differential that you saw in this fight against Serghei Pavlovich was incredibly noticeable. And AJ, there's some context, some breaking news that we need to talk about in regards to this fight. But before we do that, how impressed were you with Tom Aspinall's performance? 1-2, down the pipe, just how we like him. What'd you think?
Massively impressed, Derick. Not only just the 1-2 down the pipe like you're talking about, but the chin to get clipped, regain yourself, and then go back in and hurt the guy even worse than he just hurt you, man. This speaks big for Tom Aspinall, man. Massive implications and massive performance because not only, like you said, does he look, or does he move like that middleweight? Does he have, bounce on the toes? He's light. He's cutting angles. He's looking great out there. But also, he was bigger than Pavlovich. Homeboy was huge, man. Not only tall-wise, but he is thick too. Yeah, he's a little more slender of a 265er, but he still has the power. He still looks good. And then when I saw him standing there next to Pavlovich, I was like, oh my God, man, Tom Aspinall is a big dude. He's going to be around for a while. He's going to do some really good things. I'm curious to see how the chaos unfolds because that one moment where Pavlovich did hurt him and the chaos was ensuing got me a little worried, got me a little stressed out for Tom, but he's able to pull it out and actually get the dub. But what do you think, Derick? How long does Tom Aspinall really stay around? Because I do got to give you credit, folks. Go check the tapes. That was correct. Tom Aspinall has been Derick's boy for quite a long time. Sorry, the Dawkins brothers couldn't pull it out the same, but I am happy to see Tom Aspinall's right here where we're expecting him to be.
Tom Aspinall has officially joined Alexa Grasso, and this is unofficial because he's the interim champion. Again, we have to hammer that home, man. Respect the champion, John Jones, right? But Tom Aspinall has now joined Alexa Grasso as the youngest pair of UFC champions that the company has to offer. 30 years old. 30 years old, AJ. My man has not even come into his prime yet, and he's already at the top of the mountain. 1B, I guess you could say, right? You're not John Jones. I'm going to point that out every single time. But I think that, he's going to be here for a long time. And here's the reason why I'm really confident in that is because breaking news here. Let me hit it. Breaking news. Tom Aspinall, after the fight, has the belt on his shoulder, right? Standing next to Laura Sanko and says, hey, I got an exclusive for you. Yeah, I know I had 2 weeks to prepare for this fight, but like week 1, I started training and I pulled my back and I couldn't really do anything. So I didn't really train for this fight. I had 5 days notice of a real training camp, if you want to call it that. And I got the job done. I was scared. And when I'm scared, I'm at my best. And I'm like, my Lord, Tom Aspinall on a full training camp, does he not beat every fighter there is to offer? Who beats this guy? Who has an arsenal of weapons that is equal or comparable of Tom Aspinall? Who can sit here and win in any fashion and once again takes the guy who crushes everybody and crushes him himself? Who can do it, AJ?
There's one name, man. You said it, 1A, John Jones. It's the guy that's actually holding the real belt, and that needs to be the fight to be made, man. We'll see if it actually gets done. But who other than that? Who other than one of the GOATs to actually get it done? That's a hard one, man. I'm trying to think of names, like Curtis Blades. Could he get it done? Maybe. But I still think Tom has the speed and the power to be able to nullify him. Other than that, man, I don't know. Do you have one that isn't John Jones?
On paper, Curtis Blades is the name. He beat him. I know it was a knee injury, but on paper, he has a claim. It's almost like that old school royalty joint. Like he has a claim to the championship, to at least challenge for it, given he has a win against the current champion. But yeah, aside from that, man, I'm not sure. I'm not going to lie to you. Even on a full training camp, you rematch him with Serghei Pavlovich, I still think that's a scary, scary fight to have, because that's the thing. In heavyweight, oftentimes, it's a matter of who connects first. And AJ, that is the exact story that you just painted. Aspinall ate the scary punches of a fully powered 100% battery Serghei Pavlovich. It looked like woke up the cobwebs. He dusted them off. Okay, all right, we're here. And then said, all right, let me give you one back. And Pavlovich, I'm not saying that he couldn't take it. I'm just saying he got hit in the perfect spot. Right hand to the temple. Boom, flatlined him. And let's talk about this last part. Some people calling it early stoppage again, because they're saying the way Pavlovich's knee bent when he was down, when he was back flat on the mat staring up at the sky, the way his knee bent, he was still in there. At heavyweight, you got to do delivering hammer fists to your half lifeless body. Do you think it was a fair stoppage, or do you think that, let these guys go out for real?
Not at heavyweight, man. That was an absolutely fair stoppage, because if you go back and you check it out, folks, Serghei Pavlovich hits the ground, both hands right here by his head up, just holding, not defending, not looking, eyes wide, catches two more hammer fists, doesn't do anything about it, doesn't block, doesn't do anything. That was a perfect stoppage, man. You don't want to eat too many of those, because that's brain damage going forward. Good job on the ref on this one. I do think this was a good stoppage.
Does Tom Aspinall see Serghei Pavlovich again?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, without a doubt, man. They're definitely making this fight. If it's not the next one, probably the one after that. Definitely they're rematching.
Now, Tom Aspinall very quickly has joined the ranks of a Michael Bisping, per se, of a Leon Edwards, right? He's joined those ranks because, yeah, you're a champion. Yeah, even though you're an interim champion, you are a British champion. You are the third ever, actually, to bring a title out of the UK. So that's kind of my question to you right here, man. It feels almost like no matter what Tom Aspinall does for the remainder of his career, even if he fights and does not defend his title, I think that his name is etched in the history books. I think Madison Square Garden is such a special place where these historic events happen that we're going to look at, we'd celebrate UFC 30, right, this year, right? If it's UFC 50, UFC 35, UFC 45, Tom Aspinall is one of those guys, again, who gets that spot in history given the what he has accomplished with this championship. Do you agree, or do you think that you need to do more and we're setting the bar really low for our greats in this company?
That's interesting, Derick, because do I think Tom Aspinall deserves to have his name etched, especially in, like you said, the UK Hall of Fame or the UK Mount Rushmore, if you will? Absolutely. I mean, this dude's been putting in the work since, day one, literally grinding his way from the bottom, not taking easy fights, also not jumping up too high to, not have his name tarnished, if you will. So he played it very smart, fought his way all the way up the rankings, now gets it done at interim championship, and has the ability to really solidify himself in that kind of situation. But to be completely frank with you, Derick, I don't know if that's going to be the rest of the feeling by the majority of MMA, man, by the casuals, by the press. I don't think anybody's going to give Tom his acclamation or his credit that way like we will over here, but it's because we've been watching him since day one. We've been hyping him up like that. So I do think there's a little bit of bias there, but I do think he deserves it. What do you think? Do you think everybody's going to give him the push?
I think that if Michael Bisping got that crazy treatment, like we almost look back at Michael Bisping's career a little bit differently than it actually played out. But we love Mike Bisping, right? We love the count, So I think that, yeah, because of where he is from, where he hails from, I think that he's going to get a little extra bump. But it all comes down to this, man. He's 30 years old. We have a long career ahead of this man, especially at heavyweight, where he could literally stick around for another 10 to 12 years. Like, elite status. We'll see what happens. We'll see how much he has, but I think that this is the guy. This is the problem. With that being said, and new interim champion, Tom Aspinall. You love to see it. All right. Viacheslav has brought violence back to the table and steamrolled Mackenzie Dern, and she made it look really easy. And I'll tell you, there's been one evolution in Jessica Andrade's game that we haven't seen in a while that I think is the approach a lot of these fighters must take if they want to regain their footing after taking a losing streak, and that is patience, precision, and sticking to a game plan, like absolutely disciplined, sticking to a game plan. And I think that was what Jessica Andrade showcased when she says, I want nothing to do with the ground with Mackenzie Dern. So AJ, do you remember that's kind of what we were talking about? Oh yeah, Andrade, she'll kind of engage on the ground. Remember, she's specialist, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, hey, no, not the right idea. I'm glad she took that advice, because you play on the ground with Dern, that's fire, right? You stay on the feet, you're knocking heads off. So before we talk about Mackenzie Dern and whatever that performance was, how good did Jessica Andrade look? I thought she looked phenomenal.
Phenomenal, Derick. Phenomenal. I'm glad you said patience, because that's right when you said the one evolution that Jessica Andrade has made. The first word that came to my mind was patient. We saw her in there not only when she'd hurt Mackenzie Dern and then have her stand up, because, yeah, that takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of poise to really think things through like that, but also in the striking, man, not just a full-on blitz, calculated, walking you down, putting the pressure on where it needs to be, cutting the angles off so you can't escape, really nullifying your movement so that way Jessica Andrade can make the best of what she does. And it's that power, man. It's throwing heat wherever you're not expecting it, tagging the chin, hurting you, and then when you're on the ground, she played it smart and said, yeah, Mackenzie Dern, come on, stand up. I see you're basically out on the ground right now. Let me finish it. Let's go see what happens. This was a beautiful performance by Jessica Andrade, and I do think this going forward really gives her that confidence that she can continue to fight this way consistently.
Yeah, I think the biggest key right here, she says, okay, you need to take me to the ground. That's your path to victory. Come take me down then. Instead of let me run into you, throw a wild punch, get my back taken, and then get tripped and taken down. Because in the beginning of the fight, they had that scramble, right? And Mackenzie Dern kind of rushed it. She was too high on the top. And then instead of just trying to recover, get to a side control position, I think that she was thinking finish, tried to go for something fancy. Andrade was able to get out right back up to the feet. I was like, okay. Now we're talking, right? And this knockout was not even a byproduct of a Jessica Andrade, let me hunt you down and knock you out. It was a byproduct of Mackenzie Dern running face first into punches. So let's talk about the change of camp. Ruka Gym closes. Jason Perillo no longer in the corner of a Mackenzie Dern. She has another crew in her corner. She has her dad in her corner, right? But the most important thing that a lot of people pointed out, even the broadcast team, was that it almost felt like a step back in evolution for Mackenzie Dern. Like, we saw a very crisp product against Angela Hill, who is a completely different fighter than Jessica Andrade, not even the same atmosphere, same realm, but we saw a major step back in proficiency of striking. We saw the old Mackenzie Dern where it just felt like a straight up jiu-jitsu player just bum rushing into shots. And though she had success, and she even may have rocked Andrade, she kept her chin just like that. Just ate it and done, you know what I mean? So knocked down 4 times in the span of a fight in a women's MMA fight. AJ, that's record breaking. That's you don't see that. That's what Jessica Andrade does. Was this Mackenzie Dern not showing up, or was it what we just said? Andrade was sharp.
Well, I don't want to take anything away from Andrade, because was she cool, calculated, and sharp whenever she's seeing those holes present herself? Absolutely. So I want to take nothing away from Andrade on that, but also to the point, man, of the coach switch, of the camp change, of those kind of things. I mean, that's rule one, man. Hands up, head down. You know, you don't just lose that because you go to a champ or you go to a different coach. Sure, there might be some things that the other coach worked on that changed some things up, but I do truly believe this wasn't just a lack of character of a practice or anything, you know, like where you think like, okay, this time, you know what, instead of everything else we've ever done in our entire life, every coach has been telling me hands up, head, chin down. This time, you know what, I'm gonna put my hands up, chin up. I'm gonna leave it in the air. I don't think there was anything like that, or I don't think it was a coaching change. I do think it was more of, I know the power that this person opposite of me presents, and I'm very deficient in this striking realm. I'm going to throw some things, but I know I need to be conscious of what's coming back at me. And unfortunately, when you're thinking that route, you're looking for those punches. You're trying to see them come. And what does that mean? Instead of looking through your eyebrows, you're over here trying to find the punch. And sure enough, that punch found you, puts you on the chin. I think there's a lot more of that. How much do you read into that, Derick, or do you think it was a coach change?
No, that's fair. It felt anxiety. It just felt like there was a lot of anxiety about what's coming back to me is really scary. So if I'm going to go in, I'm just going to go in. And the problem is she could have kept the same game plan, bro. She could have kept the same game plan. And instead of just stringing 5 punches together, you hit the 1-2, you duck your chin, you step back out, you re-engage. And then, she had Andrade hurt. At least it looked like it, man. So it's like everything that I wanted her to do in the fight, she did it. She literally did it. It was just the defense that didn't hold up. So you're getting dropped every round. You're going to lose a decision that way anyways. But looking back on it, man, Jessica Andrade was the steal of the card. So I think she closed at plus 205. That was the steal of the card, plus 400 for the TKO. You dropped $100 on that. You had a pretty night. You know what I mean? So another one of those spots where, as I had mentioned, the UFC doesn't matter the outcome of Jessica Andrade's career. She gets opportunity after opportunity, and she just beat a top 10 fighter in the strawweight division. Number 5, defended. She's right there in the mix, bro. Bate Estaca for the win. Shout out to Jessica Andrade. Next fight that we have up here, AJ, Benoit Saint-Denis. I said it in the pre-show. It felt like he should have been the ranked guy, and Frevola should have been the guy challenging for the ranking. Saint-Denis does what he does, man. You want to brawl with this guy? You want to play that game of I'm going to walk you down or I'm going to get walked down, and he's going to run through you because he has more tools in his tool belt. And this is a guy who just seems, you said calm as or cool as a cucumber or whatever the case, right? That's Saint Denis, man. This dude just seems unfazed by all of it, and he set up the trap, head kick, perfect on a Matt Frevola who was looking to evade because his distance, his space management was being crushed by the God of War. Absolute beauty of a head kick, and this dude calls out everybody. He said, give me Gaethje, give me the champ, Makhachev. Nobody can do 3 rounds with me. Well, guess what, buddy? Championship, you need 5 of them, but that's neither here nor there. What a impressive performance. What do you think about Saint Denis?
That was wild, Derek. Saint-Denis hit the go-go gadget extendo leg to catch Matt Frevola on an exit. I guarantee Matt Frevola, even when he watches this back, he's going to think, man, I thought I was out of range. I thought he was out of range as well, man. But Benoit Saint-Denis just throws the perfectly timed kick, hands down from Frevola, and that's why I say I think he thought he was out of range, man. Hands down, looking back. Sure enough, you get clipped by a nice left kick, man. And I mean, not much you can say because of how short this fight was, but 2, how impressive it was for Benoit Saint-Denis to walk Frevola down. Even in the midst of that chaos of that firefight, he still kept the power pushing. Most people, when that exchange happens in that realm, they both bounce out and then reset. Benoit Saint-Denis decides to throw a left high kick like a madman, gets a dub for it. I guess this was beautiful. I'm excited to see where this guy can go next and what happens when he's challenged, because I think he's going to rise to the occasion if things really start getting bad for him, and we can see some real promise or poise from Benoit Saint-Denis going forward.
Absolutely, bro. It only took him 10 total strikes to get the job done in this one, another first-round finish. I want to know if he's really about what he says. He says, nobody could last 15 minutes with me. Nobody can do it. I believe in my talents, and I believe in his talents too. I think this guy is the real deal. We've been saying it for quite some time now. There was a point where I didn't believe. There was a point where I said, I don't know. I think some guys can get him out of there. And while that still might be the case, I think that those guys are probably going to be at the top end of the rankings if they are going to get him out of there. For the time being right now, though, man, it seems like he's a hurricane. He's a storm that people cannot weather. They can't weather the storm. They simply get overwhelmed, and the overload of data causes erratic exits like Matt Frevola's, and I guess we're just going to have to learn, even when you think you're safe, exit with your hands up. Always, man. Beautiful win by Saint-Denis. You got anything else on this one?
No, man. Beautiful win. Absolutely beautiful win by Saint-Denis. I'm excited to see where this dude goes in the future.
From one beautiful win to another, Diego Lopes. AJ, this guy is the real deal. There is no discounting this man at this point. Now, it wasn't the way that most people thought it would happen. I'm going to be honest with you. If this fight plays out 10 times, I don't think that this is the outcome like most times. But he is so large for this division. Diego Lopes says, if you try to take me down, I'm going to create a scramble. I'm going to defend. And I thought that Pat Sabatini was discounting Diego Lopes a little bit. That was my perception in the fight. Just kind of some of the looks he was giving him, like, all right, bro, here we go. You know what I mean? Feeling big, clips him on the feet, shoots in for a takedown, and says, oh, fuck. Wait, this guy's strong. Those hips, oh God, I couldn't get the takedown. All right, re-engage. And then it was over, man. All it took was a perfectly placed right hand to the temple that wobbled him, and then Lopes finished the job. Super, super impressive performance by this guy. 50K, fight of the night. Give him every bonus. Give him everything, bro. Shout out Diego Lopes. What did you think of this?
Shout out the power mullet too, man. This dude, he's got something going for him, man. Yeah, like I said in the pre-fight, man, you might look at him as that cringy or as that like not a scary fighter. But anybody who can do that to Pat Sabatini, man, this dude has serious crack in his shots. He's got power. And like you said, if you're going to be presented in a jiu-jitsu scramble with Diego Lopes, you're in trouble, man. And another thing, I'm glad you hit on it, Derick. How big Diego Lopes is for this, 145-pound class, man, is absolutely wild. He was towering over Pat Sabatini, who's pretty much the normal size. Like, that's the normal size of guy that he's going to be fighting. Diego Lopes looks like an absolute animal in there, man. This is cool, especially for the story of Diego Lopes, folks. Takes a short notice fight just because he's a coach of another fighter fighting. I forget if it was Marina Rodriguez or
Alexa
who it was.
Grasso.
Alexa Grasso. Takes a short notice fight just because he's helping Alexa Grasso in camp. Says, you know what? Why not? Why not lace him up in the biggest show possible and the biggest performance I'll ever have? Sure, falters, but gets back in and really makes a career for himself out of that. I love that for people out there, man. Take your shot, shoot it when you can. You never know what happens next.
The only thing that I did not like here is that we're just kind of repeating the same narrative that we had before. The striking, while it was effective in terms of you clipped him, it didn't look good, man. Sabatini came in, looked sharp down the pipe, cracked him immediately. And I was like, oh God. I was like, Sabatini's going to be on one this one. And I honestly think that's partly what led to the downfall, man. You have success early, you immediately think, all right, man, another walk in the park. You can't do that with this dude, Diego Lopes, because, yeah, you have some success on the feet. You're supposed to. He said it himself. He was all like, yeah, my coach turned me from a jiu-jitsu guy to a striker. Let's go. And he's very confident in his jiu-jitsu capacities, and I am too, because if the fight got to the actual mat, that's where I was interested. That's where this fight took place for me. It was supposed to. Never made it there. He got the job done. Didn't give us a lot to talk about because in total he landed 13 total strikes. That's it, man. Another one of those just quick finishes. Pat Sabatini now is coming off of the loss to Diego Lopes and that loss to Damon Jackson, which is really screwing up kind of where he was projected to be in this mix-em-up. How many fights is it going to take for Pat Sabatini to reclaim that scariness that he had? Because while I still believe wholeheartedly in these Philly boys, a big right hand to the temple is going to shut off just about anybody. What do you think?
Man, how many fights does it take for Pat Sabatini to get back to his projected track, man? I'm thinking three. You need three really good ones, solid performances, or just a couple absolutely star-studded knockouts, like big performances where he's going. I'm thinking 2 to 3. This is a hard one, though, man, because do you know off the top of your head how old Pat Sabatini is, Derick? I'm looking it up right now as I'm pulling it up so I can.
I got Pat Sabatini right here at 33 years old.
33, not bad for 145. Can make a run for things if he needs to. Oh, man. How about you? I think it's 3. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really beat anybody of a major notable name, and he hasn't really lost to anybody of a major notable name, so I think he's right there still. But I think it's just going to take a minute for him to get even into the ranking consideration after losses like this, man, because both losses are first-round knockout losses. Everything else, he's decisioning, submitting people, but he's just getting cracked. And, man, big win by Diego Lopes. That's all I got to say. So last one before we get out of here, man. What kind of fast track are we putting Diego Lopes on at this point? Because at a certain point, he's a draw at this point. People want to see him fight. He's a highlight fighter. He went toe-to-toe with Movsar Evloev, which we already saw. You beat Gavin, the Governor Tucker. You got to give this dude a top 15 guy, right?
That's how the chips are laying out, man. It seems like it. Personally, I hope he would take more we were talking about before with Tom Aspinall. Take that slower approach of people. Really take that aspect of I'm going to really grow into who I am because I've only been here for 3 fights. Like this is crazy calling this dude to have a top 15 after 3 fights in the UFC. But the potential's there. The technique, everything he has is there. So, yeah, I do think that's where he's going. I'd like to see it a little bit slower, but, you know, what the hell? Might as well run it if you can.
You know, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Diego Lopes has cashed in on a performance bonus and or fight of the night bonus on every single fight of his career in the UFC so far. He's got to be a rich man at this point. You know what I mean? Nobody is going to turn down an extra 50K. You feel me? So it's like 50K, 50K, 50K. Beautiful, beautiful thing to see. Shout out to Diego Lopes. Now, folks, that was your main card right there. We had some notable prelims and we got some time to talk about it. So you know that's what we're going to do. All right, AJ, let's talk about some prelims here. And I want to just kind of take a look. And as I had mentioned before, instead of running down everything, I want to talk about some really notable fights right here. Now, folks, this is just a quick plug. on fight day. You might catch us live tweeting. You're probably going to catch me live tweeting on there. I know my boy AJ is going to go in there. I normally like to do a lot of my heavy work on the prelims because that's where I'm throwing out additional plays that I don't talk about here on the program. So if you're interested, tune in because we did some work on the prelims here, AJ. And the first fight that I want to bring up here, let's jump straight into it. All right, man. Look at this one. Baby Shark, Lupe Godinez. We called it. This was going to be a close one, but what I want to talk about isn't the impressive performance of Lupe Godinez, which her performance was like super impressive, right? But this was a fight where it looks like Godinez pretty handedly got the job done, right? However, one judge scored it 30-27 in favor of Tabitha Ricci. Are we calling corruption? Are we calling, yo, you was looking at something and it wasn't that fight? I'll tell you that much. Or what do we see here? This should not have been a split decision victory for Lupe Godinez.
Not at all should it have been a split decision victory for Lupe Godinez, man. That I think you're right. Whether it's the former or it's the latter, Derick, either his pockets got paid or there was something else he was staring at, man. And no, I definitely think this kind of thing needs to be fixed because 30-27 is absolutely wild that's even in the realm of somebody's mind when they're scoring this fight. A great performance by Lupe Godinez. I mean, I don't got much to say just because we've seen, I don't want to say corruption in the judges out there, but we've seen some flawed decision making when it comes from the judges. So hopefully it's nothing too bad. But yeah, I think we need to find a new one at least.
Yeah, that was a rough one. But if we're talking about trajectory of a Lupe Godinez, now that you get past Baby Shark, she was number 10. Godinez was number 13. Godinez should now officially be a top 10 fighter. She has now broken the record now. I believe it's for most wins in a calendar year for a women's fighter. I don't remember if the number was 4 or 5, but I know that she is leading in that category. So she's game. She's willing to fight everybody. She's in her early 30s, so now is the time to go. Can she make a real run? And here's the only thing that concerns me. She's looking for a strawweight championship, and she trains with the champion, Alexa Grasso. So where is this going to come into play?
That's exactly what I was thinking, Derick. Like, how long is it going to take for Lupe Godinez to get to that championship? I'm thinking, man, 3 fights, 2-3 fights, couple performances, something really doing it. Especially, she needs to give her partner, man, her gym mate a little bit of time to at least run through and maybe lose the belt. But do you fight, the same girl you're training with?
Let me pause for a second because I don't know why I made the same mistake you just made right now, man. For whatever reason, I'm still thinking Alexa Grasso is at 115. She's a 125-pound champion. She moved up, remember? Yeah, so, all right. Problem avoided. So we're all set on that run. But now let's take the other approach to correct our mistake. Wei Li, she's the champ right here. So can a Lupe Godinez? I mean, listen, Baby Shark is one fight. Wei Li, the top 5, Rose moved up to 125 too. So the new state, right? Tatiana Suarez, who I think is going to be a champion here soon. Is she ready for those types of fights? Or are we saying give her another 5 or so fights before we start talking there?
Yeah, no, I'd say give her a couple. Give her 3 to 5. Give her some stuff to really see what everybody else has seen. Have her fight the girls that were fighting those top 5 opponents. So that way you can at least get some kind of advantage or at least some kind of knowledge base of where the ground level is. So that way you're just not walking into Wei Li Zhang or you said, man, Tatiana Suarez or anybody that has been doing it at a ridiculous level for so long. I like Lupe. I hope she makes it in a long distance, but if they give her it a little too quick, we might see what we've seen in the past happen where that bottom row of people just keeps on getting solidified through.
Heard that. All right. How about this featured prelim, man? This is one where we were talking about it, and I feel bad, man, because I don't know if we were talking about it on air or if I was just talking with you, but I was like, man, I've been going back and forth on this one. I was going Urseg, but then I switched to Costa. Well, when I placed my picks, I placed my parlay with Steve Urseg and Lupe Godinez, and we cashed, but it was close, bro. And the Costa pick was not a bad pick whatsoever because this dude had Urseg rocked. Astro Boy was rocked. And you can't tell me, AJ, Steve Urseg doesn't look like Crash Bandicoot. You can't tell me that. Just go Google it on yourself, folks. The point is, listen, he got the job done. Total strikes. He led in total strikes, submission attempts, all of that good stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, man, Costa had him hurt, bro. Big shots, had him running for his life, and then made him play conservative in the end of the fight. Urseg got the job done, but being that he is a top 15 fighter and he had such a close fight here with a unproven guy like Alessandro Costa, does that cause any concern for you for his trajectory rising up the ranks at 125 pounds?
Oh, absolutely causes concern, Derek. But the one thing that kind of makes me feel a little bit better about it is after you get rocked like you did, you're still able to control yourself, compose yourself, and really do what's needed to be done to solidify a win in the fight. I like Usyk in this one, but yeah, it definitely is a little concerning.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, 6.5 minutes of control time, so you got to respect that. So at least he has a method to be able to control the fight, and he got the job done. So cash on Steve Usyk, though he was only 1 for 8 on his takedown attempts. Costa was only 1 for 6 on his. So, I mean, fair play. This was a banger right here, and I want to talk about this one before we get into the fight of the night. Beautiful fight right here. But Mateusz Rebecki, right, versus Roosevelt Roberts. Short notice fight, all of that good stuff, right? But this dude, Rebecki, man, I had him for a knockout. I thought that was the clear play. I thought there was going to be great cash on that one. He ends up armbarring Roosevelt Roberts in that first round, and a lot of people are saying this dude is just a wrecking force. This is a new hybrid version of like a Khabib Nurmagomedov and some of the other elite fighters that we have here today. Given he's short, he's stout, he could take you down and knock you out and submit you. How high are you on Rebecki?
Massive, Derek. That's why this was my sleeper for this fight, folks, or for this card, I should say, because Rebecki, man, is ridiculous in the way he's able to win fights. Crazy power in his kicks, man, crazy speed, and as well, like you said, he can get this fight to the ground and tap you out, basically break your arm, and that's one of the missing factors that a lot of these other fighters have. They're good in one or the other aspect, and supremely good in one or the other aspect. Rebecki is very, very dominant in both, man, in all aspects that the game presents. Rebecki is going to be a challenge for a lot of people going forward.
That's right. That's right. All right, man. Fight of the night right here. Nazim Sadykhov versus Viacheslav Borshchev. This was a fight that I thought there was a very clear path to victory for Sadykhov, and he just couldn't get the fight to the mat, man. Not early on. And you stand up with Viacheslav, that is a one-way ticket to an ass whooping right there. You know what I mean? And he was putting it on Sadykhov, but Sadykhov gave him the baseball bat to the dome, man. That head kick that I thought wrapped the whole entire thing up, got the 10-8, pretty much secured the draw for this fight, because otherwise Borshchev would have won that fight, man. Borshchev looked fantastic. Who are you more high on given the result of this matchup?
Man, it's hard not to be high on Borshchev for this one, especially coming back from a 10-8 round, coming back from getting your ass whooped for all of 5 minutes, man, and really staying true. And you saw the moment when he finally regained consciousness, because he was no longer like bouncy and like droopy. He was back to being where he was at the start of the fight, kind of solid and stiff and like actually, powerful, man. And this was a wild one, but at the same time, man, Sadykhov, the power this dude has and the mental fortitude to stay in those kind of fights and know you can win it if you can. Man, this is a very impressive one. Like Riki's showing right now, Derek, 4 takedowns. He knew what he needed to do to win the fight. It's just hard to put yourself in those dangerous positions to actually get the dub on a fighter like Borshchev. Who are you higher on? Because I don't even know, to be completely honest, Derek. Like I said, it's hard not to be high on Borshchev. But what about you?
For me, it's Borshchev. It's 100% Borshchev. I'm really high on Sadykhov, especially he's at the Ray Longo camp right there with them Jersey boys, man. But we had said it. If Borshchev can avoid getting taken down or gaining proficiency to not get submitted on the ground, be able to get back up to his feet, this guy has a real problem. And we're seeing he's getting tested, and getting better and better and better every time. For Sadykhov, on the other hand, it almost felt like his inability to get the takedown just kind of froze everything else up. You know what I mean? So you don't want to sit there, put your high guard up, eat a bunch of shots, and then just move forward. That's why look at the at distance, 141 to 66 at distance. I mean, Borshchev looks sharp, bro. So I'll say that one. All right, man. I wanted to move on really quickly. This was my sleeper, Josh Van versus Kevin Borjas. AJ, this was the fight of the night. Lock if Borjas just had a little more gas in the tank. But you can't be mad at him because Van was beating up that bread basket. And I'll just say this one, man. This dude, Josh Van, is going to be a real problem. This dude is like 22 years old, something like that. He's super young. And he walks through fearless, body shots, head shots, grappling, takedowns, the entire 9. I just thought this was a fantastic 3-round fight. Another one we cashed on the fight to go the distance right here, Josh Van over Borjas. Catch me on Twitter for that stuff. But listen, what did you think of the performance?
Man, incredible by both guys, man. Both Van and Borjas. This was awesome. I do love seeing, though, when younger fighters know the importance of going to the breadbasket, knowing how draining it actually is. Because we saw Borjas, man, started off like very fast, very powerful, had that kind of stuff going for him, man. And then you start getting eating 5, 6, 7 punches to the body. You start curling over a little bit and walking backwards instead of performing your kind of style of fight. And that's exactly what it does. I love this fight, man. This was a very fun one. And especially for how young these dudes are into their careers, it's going to be progressing like a madman from now on out.
Right on. And then, all right, we're running out of time here. So really quickly, big win by John Castaneda in the catchweight bout over Kyung Ho Kong. It was a little bit of a snoozer of a fight coming off of this Van Borjas fight, but I will say I think that's a name that he's really going to like to have on his resume. And then finally, your sleeper, Flash Gordon, flashed Mark Madsen, man. Madsen kind of did it to himself. Collar tie, kept the collar tie, left himself open to that dirty boxing. He got flashed. Another one we cashed, plus 400, Jared Gordon TKO prop. Shout out, man. I'm sorry, AJ, but I just had that feeling. Madsen, gas tank, very low, 39, 40 years old. If you don't wrestle, you don't win. He didn't wrestle. He didn't win. Any thoughts on this one?
I thought it was looking good for all of 90% of the fight, man. I thought Marco Madsen was working well. The clinch was going well. He's going to get him to the ground. And then you get flashed by Flash Gordon, man. And yeah, I mean, not much you can say because it was a beautiful, beautiful performance by Gordon just to know exactly when to strike. Yep. Marco Madsen, we've seen it. We've said it before. We'll say it again, man. If you can't get this fight to the ground or protect yourself, Marco Madsen is a rough one.
Yep. All right. Cool. Well, with that being said, AJ, there's only one thing left to do before we get up out of here, and that is a rankings review. So today I want to talk about a rankings review, and what we're going to talk about in particular, I think is going to be none other than the two divisions that have the most movement right now, man. It's got to be heavyweight and light heavyweight. So let's jump straight into it, man. And this one is going to be a little bit different because I just want to bring up the UFC rankings right here and just kind of assess kind of what we have right here. We'll do a quick one. So the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall goes from number 4 to, I'm imagining, number 1, given that he'll be the interim champion. So he's the new number 1 below John Jones. My biggest question in the heavyweight division is that does it make sense still to see John Jones versus Stipe at this point? Or are they fighting for their own separate thing and we should really just declare Tom as the actual champion?
I think they're fighting for their own separate thing at this point, man. Especially when's the last time we've seen Stipe, Like this was such of a big hype event going for it. We haven't seen Stipe in years. Like it just doesn't make sense for the atmosphere that is in the heavyweight division, man. It seems like we're just holding on to these, I don't want to say relics because they're not relics, but holding on to these fighters of the past that are still here just clamoring on for the last little bit of glory when there's so many fighters below them that we can see a bunch of really good fights going forward. So I don't think it personally makes sense. Obviously, I love seeing John Jones fight. I'd love to see Stipe fight him. But does it make sense going forward, anything after that fight, or is it just that one fight that really matters,
Yeah, I think it's just that. And that's why I almost feel like you want to take them out of this division and just say, legends fight, you guys do your thing. You're going to retire after anyways. It's all good. Let the division move on. You know what I mean? So now we have a little bit of a mix-em-up because Cyril Gane says, hey, Tom, congratulations, but now you're the one being hunted and I'll see you soon. And then Jailton Almeida chirps in and says, oh, wait, buddy, before you see him, you got to see me, man. Don't forget about that. But then let's not forget, Curtis Blades is just waiting in the wings being like, yo, but I beat that guy, Tom, so I deserve a claim. And then you still got dudes like Alexander Volkov, Sergey Spivak, Tai Tuivasa. You still got these guys being like, I'm one fight away from fighting this guy. It feels like the heavyweight division is a whole mix-em-up, which is awesome because normally it's a very stagnant division. It's very top-heavy, especially when you got a John Jones, when you had a Francis Ngannou, DC, Stipe. But now this might find a point in this essence where it's a mix-em-up like the light heavyweight division. After John Jones didn't hold the belt anymore, everybody started grabbing that belt. Are we going to see the same thing at heavyweight?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I think it doesn't make sense for John Jones and Stipe to still be like the main fighter, the fight everybody's clamoring for, because there's so many dudes that we can see some spectacular fights going for. And maybe we might see 5 new champs, or maybe we might see one guy rise to the top, man. The cream of the crop rises, and then he just solidifies himself. Who's it going to be? We don't know, especially because the division has been held up for so long. Now we're in that era where it might start to be turning some gears right here.
Yeah, no, fair enough, man. I think this is going to be interesting, and I guess here's a big question to you. 2024 ends. Who's the champion of the heavyweight division?
2024 ends. So a whole year basically away, a little bit more. Man, I want to say Gelton Almeida, but I also want to see what he does next and where his hands really go. How does he fight a striker? It's hard, man. That's a very hard question. Derick, what about you?
Well, I'll say let's basically give our ones on record. We'll save that for the award show at the end of the year, right? But for preliminary, we're just kind of shooting the shit right here. Give me Tom. 30 years old, man. So young. Give me Tom. And if it's not Tom, I say it's Serghei Pavlovich.
That's fair. That's fair. Very fair, man. That's why. And what I like about it, there's so many names you could say that have the potential to actually make it to that spot that it's a very hard question.
Yep. Give me one? Just throw one out there. You ain't got to have it as the official pick.
Man, I'm sticking with the Gelton Almeida.
All right, fair enough. Now, let's move on over to this light heavyweight right here because Jamal Hill officially has relinquished the title and new Alex Pereira. It still blows my mind right here, man. Because look at this. I mean, Sean Strickland, you beat that guy. You beat all the champions, man. You done beat literally 3 champions in 7 MMA fights. Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya, and then Sean Strickland. And then Jiri Prochazka. That's 4, actually, right? So that's pretty incredible. All right. So we see Alex Pereira, he's the top dog. As I mentioned before, Jiri, he'll be back, but he's going to have to mix it up with somebody else. Jan Blachowicz and Alexander Rakic are actually scheduled to fight. So at this point, the most clear-cut contenders for him are Jamal Hill when he's healthy, Magomed Ankalaev, and then I would say Johnny Walker. Now, somewhere out of the wings, AJ, I don't know how this happened, but there was rumors that the winner of this fight is going to be calling out Anthony Smith. And everyone's like, what? Why? Why is Anthony Smith going to be called out for the championship? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Now it makes a little bit more sense with the Israel Adesanya stuff. But the point is, Johnny Walker seems like the furthest away from all of this, given that he's also slated to have a rematch with Magomed Ankalaev. So it just feels like at this point, the whole entire division is just at a standstill. And the only clear-cut guy that has an opportunity to fight him is Jamal Hill, but he's injured. So where do we go here?
Yeah, it's a great question because I was thinking the same thing, man. Jamal Hill seems to have the most clear-cut path to getting back to his belt, but you're injured. So how long can you stay on the shelf for, especially with people, like even Nikita Krylov or Alexander Rakic, the people you didn't mention in that fight? They start making some moves. One of the Nikita Krylov knocks out Magomed Ankalaev. Let's say some crazy things happen and them two get matched up and that's what goes down. There's moves that can be made from everybody in this light heavyweight division to really solidify themselves as that next guy up. My question is, who's it going to be? I think it's going to be Magomed Ankalaev. It's kind of an easy layup guess, but what about you, Derick? You rolling with the dark horse as well?
AJ. I've been rolling with the dark horse for how long now? It's too late to go back now at this point. Magomed Ankalaev is the guy, and honestly would probably be the guy had it not been for that, that last weirdness with Johnny Walker. But he's going to rematch him. So they're saying early 2024 is the move on a fight night main card or main event. So, all right, that's your rankings review, folks, and we did it just in time. So we covered UFC 295, we covered the prelims, we cashed in on the money, we did the rankings review, and all that does is lead us to go right back to the war room to say UFC Vegas 82, Paul Craig versus Brendan All-In Allen is going to be a fun one, 6-fight main card. Looking forward to it. AJ, take us out of here.
Woo, folks, like Derick said, this next fight night, it's going to be a lot of fun. And like he mentioned before, make sure you're checking out all the links right over here. Derick's live tweeting like a madman. I'm getting better at. I'll be there over there live tweeting as well. But you can see the other links. Make sure you're clicking on all of them. Make sure you're subscribed. We're bringing quality entertainment to you, content consistently, always, week in and week out. And there's a reason we're your favorite fighter's favorite fight show, folks. It's because we're telling you what's going to happen and it unfolds and we're putting money in your pocket left and right. So do us a big favor. We're trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're almost there. We need that small army that is the Bloody Water podcast to go and push and drive and send it to a friend so that way they can also win some money and get everybody right on here driving us to be the best MMA podcast in the world. We're already there mentally. We just need you to help us out and drive that force going forward. Catch us on the next week, man. This is going to be a fun one, folks. Let's get into it.
AJ, we about 750 deep. At this point, I think it's a little bit of a disservice to call it a small army. I'm very confident that we could take on over like some metropolises at this point. You know what I mean? You got 700 people behind you. Like, we're going to make some damage. So listen, we have a moderate sized army here at the Bloody Water Podcast, and we're only looking for it to get bigger for you all to join the ranks of those who are making money, are educated on fights, and most important, are having a good time. That's what we're here for. So, folks, AJ said it best. That's it for us. Catch us next week for UFC Vegas 82 on the pre-show. That will be dropping on Friday. And tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll catch you on the flip side. That's it for us, folks. Peace.